Okay, Boker Tov. Today's daf is Samach Dalet 64. We are on Samach Gimel Amud Bet, a little behind. We are in the middle of a discussion about swearing by and mentioning the names of foreign gods. We mentioned some of the practical aspects about that, and the whole Tosfos there that we did at the end of yesterday that also gets up to core questions of how halacha treats Christianity. And now we pick up with 3 lines before the lines get wide. Kiyasa Ula bas b'kalanbo. When Ula came, he slept in this place called Kalanbo. And apparently that was the name of some foreign god. Okay, there are some cities in the U.S. that have the name of, certain names. Okay, Amalei said to him, Amalei Rava, v'hecha bas mar, how did you sleep there? Because you're not supposed, like it says, you're not supposed to even say to somebody, wait for me by this avodah zarah. How did you sleep in that town? Now, I don't know. Maybe he didn't say the name of the town. Maybe he just slept there. But anyway, apparently he said the name of the town. So Amalei, the Heicha Basmar, where did you sleep? I'm sorry, how did you sleep there? Where did you sleep? Amalei B'Kalanbo, in this town. Amalei V'Haksiv, gotcha. Anyway, so the problem wasn't that he slept there. The problem was that he said the name. Wait, you're not supposed to say the name of a foreign god. Amalei, Hachi, Rabbi Yochanan. This is what Rabbi Yochanan says. If God's already going to say the name, we're allowed to say the name. So if it's mentioned in the Torah, you're allowed to say the name. Okay,
so not just mentioned in the Torah.
Not to name. Well, we'll see. Not to take an oath in that name or whatever, God forbid, but to mention the name. The ha-heichak-siva. Where is this written? The so Torah is written large here, includes Tanakh. Okay, because it says Karabal Baal Kares Nevo. So bow down Baal was the name of like some foreign god. Kares, so that's like, what was the name of his town here? Kalanbo. So Kares, like crouch down or something, Nevo. So somehow the word nevo there, kal nevo. So the nevo was presumably the name of the foreign god. So that's mentioned. The ilok siva lo, but you're telling me if it's not written, you're not allowed to say that. Masiva misharshaya ra achas meruba kisholo shehi kimigidon l'shilo. If somebody azav, somebody with a penile emission, whatever, that would make him tamei, not semen. Anyway, so if you see 3 separate, emissions, the person has a full level of tumah. Let's say it's 1 level of emission but it's enough that it could be 3. Like, it goes on for a long enough time. So how much is that long enough time? So one large amount, which is equal to 3. Shehi, it's the amount of time that it takes to walk from Megidon to Shiloh. Shehain, which is Shtei Tfilot v'Shnei Sifugim. So we have to imagine the amount of time to have had an emission, go to the mikvah, dry yourself off, have another emission, go to the mikvah, dry yourself off, have another emission. So because, what breaks it up into 3 is the ability to have gone to the mikvah between. Anyway, that's not relevant for us. What's relevant is it mentions the amount of time it takes to go from this place called Megidon. And Megidon from God, not God, G-O-D, Gimel Daled, is the name of some idolatrous god. So it says so where? So that's mentioned in the Mishnah. Where is it mentioned in Tanakh? So the Gemara says, Zav Gemara. Anyway, that's the end of the teaching. That's a Zav. So Amaravina Gad Nami Michtav Ksiva. No, that word also appears in Tanakh as the name of an avodah zarah. Tichsiv Ha'orchim L'Gad Shulchan. It's actually quite explicit. Those that prepare a table for God, for this idol. Okay, so that was a type of a form of worship. No, we got to move on.
Monday and Tuesday in January and February.
Right, except that you're not well, first of all, you're not actually saying Thor's Day, or Woden's Day. You're saying Wednesday. But it might be a bigger problem if it were. But I think the fact that the general assumption is that they're dead gods, it's not a problem. Gods that nobody is still worshiping. Of course, if you like the novel American Gods, then we could have a whole discussion.
So at the time, then there was no. They were still worshiping Kalanbo or whatever it was.
Oh, but that was okay because it was in the Torah. You were asking about ones that weren't in the Torah.
But okay. Okay, fine. Either way, I could have been an answer then, right? Meaning they weren't worshiping it.
Right. The general assumption is that if nobody's worshiping the god, it's not a problem.
But Hebrew months are gods.
That is true too. That's true, right? Right. The names of the months we got from Bavel, and they're the name of Babylonian gods.
They were worshiping at the time,
right? Yes, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. That's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how is, that's what I said before. It's like, it's one thing to say not to use them in an oath, but not to just say them in passing, even not with reverence, but just in passing, which is the context we're talking about here, would seem that it would make conversation pretty difficult when a language is sort of suffused with it.
Like, for instance, say, especially you're traveling, there might be Saint this square. And
Saint, as we said yesterday, isn't a god. Okay. Amar of Nachman, Kolet Sanusa, but there's other places, like the one that's Corpus, whatever. Okay. Amar Rav Nachman, you're not allowed to speak in a mocking, like, mockery. That doesn't breed a good sort of attitude, towards the world, the people, or whatever. So you're not allowed to be mocking, with the exception of Avodah Zarah. Okay? The Sharia, it's permissible. The Chsiv, Kara Bel Kares Nevo, crouch down Bel, sort of bow down Nevo, Kirsu Karu Yachdav. They're basically crouched down, together. Lo yachlu maleit maso. They could not escape the burden. So basically, it means is they couldn't escape the burden of their food, and they basically had to crouch down and defecate. So it's basically describing these idolatrous gods, whatever, defecating, okay, because they can't handle their food. So anyway, it's a way of, you already find this in the Nevi'im. Yeah. It's a way of counteracting the influence, is you just make a mockery of it.
Eliyahu does that.
Right, exactly. Okay. V'ksiv dibru la'agalot, speak to the agalot. These are the iglei zahav that they had, in the Israelite kingdom. Beit Aven, of the city of sin, which is really of the Beit El. Okay, but it's obviously a play here on words. Yaguru shachein Shomron, will fear those who dwell in Shomron. Ki avel alav amo, because the nation, these calves, the golden calves, will be taken, when whoever was Sanhedrin came and exiled them. Okay, because the people will mourn for it. Avel alav amo, where I might have lost my place. The Ukmarav alav yagilu, but the priests, they will rejoice. Why will they rejoice? That their God is taken. Al kvado kigala, for the honor of this God that went into exile. Mimenu. So what does that mean? So al tikvi kvodo, it's honor. Ela kvedo, the weight. They had to deal with the weight of all of the defecation of these calves, and now they'll be sort of free of it. So that is, again, a similar. Wow, I'm sorry, that's an Amber Alert. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So it says like this. Okay, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, what's meant? Now they have increased in their sin, and they made for themselves a molten image, from their silver, like their image, atzabim. What's atzabim? Like their something about I don't know. What's
you mean like idols?
Idols, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, they're idols. Okay. My kitvunatam atzabim. What does it mean? Like their idols were like their images. Every individual had their own little idol, their own little personal idol. And kept it in their pouch. And any time that they remembered their God, they took it out of their literally out of their chest. They took it out of their pouch. They kissed it. Okay, so it became a little talisman. Is the point? Okay, like this is God that you worship. Anything? Oh, you have a little memory. You kiss. You kiss your little thing. Okay. What is meant by the verse?
What were we trying to do with that verse before? Just because?
Yeah, we're in this context, and it's a way of mocking. It's not the mocking like, oh, they're going and they're defecating everywhere, but it's a mocking like, oh, they treat it like this little, talisman. They kiss it every time they remember it. Okay, so so literally it means those that slaughter people will kiss the calves. What does that mean? I'm Rabbi Yitzchak today, Rabbi Ami. So it's from the psukim from the same area here in Hosea. So he said the name of Rabbi Ami. The attendants to the idols would, and these were that they worship these calves. The calves were sort of their objects of worship. So what they would do is they put their eyes on people that were very wealthy. They would they wanted to sort of get their wealth to their temple. So what they would do is, Umar, even as agalim, they would starve the calves, which were the things that were being worshipped. They made images of the people whom they were, who they wanted to, the wealthy people. They put it in front of the calves. So the calves were very, very hungry, and they had the images of these people in front of them. And they put them right by the troughs of the calves. So then they took these starving calves out of their pen, and these people were among the worshipers, and the calves all they had seen was their images. So what did they do? So Even Sharosan, they saw these wealthy people, they'd run after them, they'd rub up against them, maybe they thought finally they would give them some food or something. So the priest said, oh look, our God desires you, they're rubbing up against you. What they want is they want you to offer yourself up as a sacrifice to them. Okay, so Yavov Yizbachatzmo, go slaughter yourself. Now I don't know how that helped the coffers of the temple, unless they said that part of the deal was that the temple will inherit your wealth. Anyway, so Adam, they slaughtered the people to the calves. Okay, now where's the Agalim Yishakun? Where's the kissing of the calves? So where was it? So apparently means that afterwards they would kiss the calves for doing a good job. Anyway, so Rabbi said that's wrong. Then it shouldn't be those that slaughter the calves. Slaughtering of the people will kiss the calves. It should be they'll kiss the calves in order to slaughter the people. I don't exactly get what the question is, but anyway, they'll first kiss them for the purpose of, okay, what does Rashi say? Yishakun lizboach adam. Yishkun lizboach adam mibailei. Lehem heim hakomrim mimagalot alalu noshkim etchem. Oh, I see. No, it wasn't that the priest would kiss the calves. The calves would go up and rub up and kiss the people. Okay, so it should be, the order should have been different. It should have been Yishakun, those that they kiss, they kiss them in order to slaughter the people, whatever. Anyway, no, this is what the verse means. Anybody who would slaughter their son to the gods, Amarlo, Doron Gadol Hikrivlo. So the priest would say, oh my, you made a great offering to our God. Yavovi Yishaklo. Come and kiss the God, or I don't know if that means, or let the God come and kiss you. Anyway, so Chayadam, the people who slaughter humans, who slaughter their children to the gods. So Agalim Yishakun, they're entitled to go and kiss the gods. Okay. Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, the Anshe Bavel Asu et Sakot Benot. So this is a list in the Pasuk in Malachim of all the different types of idols that were made from these different people. So they made Sakot Benot. What does that refer to? Tarnagolet. So that's a hen. That was their god. Kut Asuet Nargol. So what's Nargol? Tarnagol. That was worked well. That's a rooster. I have no idea. Then Chamat Asuet Ashima. So what's that? Barcha Karcha. So that is, what does Rashi say that is? Oh yes, a goat, okay? And it's called a bald goat because it doesn't have a wool. V'ha'avim asu nivchan ve'et tartik. What's that? Tartik. Umayniu kelev v'chamor. So they had for their god a dog and a donkey. So dog from the word ninboach is like to bark. I know how tartik means a donkey. Okay. V'hasafarvim Sarfimet b'neihem ba'esh. That's where we were going, because we mentioned child sacrifice. It's also going to tie into the next mission, which speaks about serving Molech. So they would burn their sons in the fire. La'adar melech, va'an melech. Okay, Elohei Safarvim, to those two gods of the Safarvim. Umayniyu, so what are they? Hapered v'hasus. That would be the mule and the horse. Adar melech, the adar leila mar'ei b'ti'inei. That it honors its master, the king, whatever its master, by taking a burden. So that's why it's a mule. The an melech, the ani leilamare bekirva, that it responds back to its master like in war, like it answers its master, it follows its master even into war. Okay, anyway, Av Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda. So Bikesh Asot Lochein, even Chizkiah, they wanted to actually offer his father wanted to bring him as a child offering to this god. Rashi says we know this because it says by Achaz, who was Chizkiah's father, Gamis Beno Hevir Ba'esh, that he passed his son through the fire as an idolatrous act. And Rashi says the only son we know about is Chizkiah. So presumably they were trying to actually burn Chizkiah as an offering to this god. Okay, Ratulasus came. Ella shesachaso imo salamandra, but his mother had this is sort of like the what is it? The Achilles story. His mother had anointed him with the oil of a salamander, which protected him from the fire. Okay, because they're supposed to have magical qualities.
They're supposed to be born from the fire.
Right. Oh, is that why? Oh, good point.
It says a creature emerges from an oven in which a fire is burned for 7 consecutive years.
Okay, got it. Okay, I'm a Rav Yehuda Amarav. Yodina Yisrael to find. Now we listed all these avodah zaras. First of all, now you know their names, so the ones that are in the Tanakh you're allowed to say. And anyway, we had a good laugh at them, and we were mocking them. Now we're going to go back and sort of deal with this issue. If there's such a mockery, right? Why did we stray after them? Okay, so so Mercer is like this.
We can mock them now. People
fine. That's one answer. Yodina Yisrael. The Jews always knew. Israel always knew that they were meaningless. The only reason they worshipped idols was because it would have freed them from the constraints of the mitzvot. Because they would have said we're no longer keeping God's Torah. We're following the idols, and in particular, it was the drive for sexual freedom that led them astray. Okay, and that led them to sort of, now it might be specifically that some of these pagan worships involved, sort of type of sexual acts and so on. But even without that, it means that the Torah is very demanding in terms of sexual restraint, right? And they wanted greater freedom. So, that's always the question, right? When somebody leaves, are they leaving because of theological issues, or are they leaving because, there's a famous story that one of the, I forget who it was, I think, but anyway, this big, Maschio, said, I'm leaving all this. It doesn't make any sense anymore. And I have all these questions. And I heard this in the name of the Gra. I don't know. Anyway, so the students of the Gra heard this, and he said, Rebbe, you have to talk to this guy and give him answers. So he talked to the guy, and he said, here are all my questions. Whatever. He says, no, I'm sorry. I can't help you. So the guy walked away. So the student said, Rebbe, I don't understand. You know everything. How come you couldn't answer his questions? He said, those weren't questions. They were answers. So, what?
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated, right? How much is it? Exactly. How much is it because you want to be free, and that's why you have all your questions? And how much is it really because you have your questions? So anyway, so that's what this is saying. It was not because the attraction of the avodah zarah. They wanted to be free of the restraints. Okay, so Shembo Mamish. Well, of the Misharsha asked, what do you mean? I'm going to quote you all these psukim where it seems that they were very seriously passionate about their avodah zarah. Okay, here's what. So it says they would remember their gods like remembering their sons. Okay, the Amar Rebbe Linzer, like when you remember your son who's far away and your heart yearns after him, that's what it would feel to them when they would think of their gods. So that's a real passion for them, a real connection. So that's after they started running after them. The initial, initial motivation was to be free of the constraints, right? But once we spent a lot of time being over avodah zarah, we started to really have a deeper connection. Toshma, come in here. I will put your corpses on the corpse of your, idols there. The Torah itself is already mocking it, right? It refers to the idols as like your defecations or whatever. Anyway, Amar Eliyahu Tzadik. Amar. So it said, Amar, they said, Eliyahu Tzadik was going after all those that were bloated. What can I tell you? It's a good point. Anyway, it was going around all those that had been bloated by famine in Jerusalem. He found an infant, we'll see, it's not an infant literally. Anyway, a small child who was bloated in there in the dung heap. Amarlo, where do you come from? Amarlo, mishpacha ploni, such and such a family. Ani. Amarlo, klumi shayim yosa mishpacha. Is anything left of that family? Because they all now were dying, presumably due to the sin of idolatry. Amarlo, love, no. Right, because there was a famine in the land in the time of Eliyahu, right? Because people were all worshiping these foreign gods. Amalo, lav, no, chutz mimeni, I'm the one remnant of this large family. Amalo, imanim elad me'ad davar shata chaybo, atalamad lamed. If I will teach you something that will give you life, are you prepared to live it? Amalo, hey, yes. Amalo, he says, here it is. Here's the secret. Amar b'chol yom, say every day, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Accept God as your God. Reject your idol worship. That will give you life. Amalo, he said to him, Chas Shalol Lahaski b'Shem Hashem. God forbid that I should say God's name. Okay, that's actually quoting a pasuk. There's a pasuk that says that they'll say Chas Lahaski b'Shem Hashem. Shalolimdo Avivi Mami. My mother, father never taught me that. God forbid that I should accept your God. Miyad. Hotzi Yerato, he took his little idol out of his cloak. Mechiko, he hugged it and he kissed it. Ad shenivka kreso, his stomach exploded. V'nafla yirato la'aretz, his God, his idol fell into the earth. V'naflu aleh, and he fell on top of it. L'chaim Hashem never to fulfill the verse. V'nasati pigrechem al pigrei gilulechem. I will put your corpse on tops of the corpse of your idols, and also like your dung, because his whole stomach exploded. Anyway, so look, they so were attached to it that they were willing to give up their lives for it. How could you say they just did it to permit themselves sexual sins? All right, buzzer davikube. That's after they began.
That'll be every answer we give.
That's every answer. It's after they began to cleave to it, which is actually a very true thing. There are things that initially motivate you, and then it's too late because then you're already committed to this whole way of life,
and you
internalize it.
The kings did it in order to, divide the kingdom. Right.
That's true. There was a lot of other reasons as well. Exactly, political reasons. Right. Tashma, come here. Now this is going to be a very famous midrash, very, very famous. Vayizaku b'kol gadol. This is about the in the time of Nehemiah, the leaders of the people when they returned for the Bayit Sheni. They called out in a great voice, El Hashem Elohehem, to Hashem their God. Mayem, or what did they say? Amar Rav Yehuda, v'yitemer Rav Yonasan, Baya Baya, whoa, whoa, whoa. They were saying, the leaders at this time, they were talking about the desire, the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah, the passion for idolatry. This is the thing that destroyed our temple. It burned the sanctuary. The katlinu l'tzadike, it caused the righteous to be murdered. The aglinu l'Yisrael me'arayu, it caused Israel to be exiled from their land. V'adayinu merake beinan, it's still dancing among us. Here we are. We've returned for the second Beis HaMikdash, and the people are still desiring to run after Avodah Zarah. The only reason God gave us this desire, this passion for Avodah Zarah, was that we should receive reward if we were able to conquer over it. You know what? We don't want it, and we don't want its reward. We're better to do without it. Okay? So anyway, you see how internalized this was. Even when they were trying now to return and everything, they still couldn't get rid of this passion for Avodah Zarah. Fine. That's what happened after many centuries of running after it. They totally internalized it. But that wasn't the initial motivation. Now that we're done with this whole discussion of whether they were motivated because of the desire for Avodah Zarah per se or for the desire for sexual freedom, and then they internalized the desire for Avodah Zarah. But now we're going to continue this famous Agadata about in the time of the Bayit Sheni, the leaders, the Anshe Knesset Agdola here, wanted to do away with the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. So here's what they did.
Yetzer Hara Avodah Zarah or just Yetzer Hara? No,
Avodah Zarah. This is very much the Avodah Zarah context. Yasu Tlosa Yoma B'Tanisa. They set 3 days of a fasting. Bo Rachame. They prayed to God to be free of the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. Nafalu Pitka Mirakia. A little like a writ, like a little piece of paper. What? A note. Thank you. A little note fell from heaven. What? A little note fell from heaven, like we normally put the little pitkas in the coat. There it's coming the other direction. Okay? So a little note fell from heaven, because of the MS, truth. Like basically like I'm signing off on your request. Fine, I'll give you the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. Amar Rav Chanina, Shma Mino, we hear from here, something we say elsewhere. God's signs, God's signature is truth. Because God represents ultimate truth. So God acceded to their request. So a lion whelp, like a little fire that looked like a little lion, came out from the Holy of Holies. Amadu Navi Yisrael. So the Navi said to them at that time, Hainu Yitzra Avodah Zarah. Oh, that's what you were asking to have dominion over. That's the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. Now, of course, it's quite shocking that the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah comes from the Holy of Holies. I think to some degree it's dealing with the problem, that the whole Beit HaMikdash in itself is basically to give a physical, present way of representing God's presence. So you could say that it raises certain theological challenges. It's not actually a physical representation of God, but part of the whole attraction of Avodah Zarah is that it gives you something very physical and concrete to relate to. It's very hard to relate to a God that can't be imaged, that can't be seen, or, even imagined in concrete human terms. So the Beit HaMikdash is some type of a concession of that. And let's not forget that the Kruvim were in the Kodesh Kodashim, right? So again, the Kruvim are the chariot of God or something. But anyway, those are all like concessions. So I think it's very significant that the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah is emerging from the Kodesh Kodashim.
It was also a lion cub, right? So it's not at its full strength, but if you let it grow up. It'll take
maybe that's true too.
The king, right? Maybe the king over you.
Right, and maybe that's the point before. Once we started running after it, it got stronger.
And maybe to emphasize how skinny is the line between Yetzer Hara and Kodesh HaKodashim. We might walk around and be like, oh, well, we're religious, therefore we took care of that already. You're like, no, it's a kind of holy.
Right. It's this thin line that distinguishes it. Right. Okay. So Amalu Navali Shal Hainu Yitzhak Avodah but how did the Katapsuli? So they grabbed it. I don't know how they grabbed it. It's like a wise, like how. Anyway, Ishtamit Pinasamine, a hair fell out of its head. The Yetzer, this embodied Yetzer Hara. The other kale ba'arbamea parsi, and it's the sound that either the hair dropping or that it gave off when its hair fell, was heard for 400 parsecs. Okay, so now they were very concerned because they saw that when they're trying to capture the Yetzer Hara, he's going to make a lot of ruckus. So Amru, Hechi Navi, what can we do? They'll hear up in heaven that we're capturing him. Of course, that was the right we were given from heaven, but maybe there'll be a reversal. Maybe they'll have compassion on him. Okay, so Amru Navi. So the Navi said, "Shadua beduda da avra." Go put him in a lead cauldron, the chisua ba'avra, and seal it with like lead. The shayiv kale, and that'll absorb his sound. It says, this is the wicked one, throw it into the cauldron. They put the leaden stone on its mouth. Okay, Amri, now they said, good. Now we've done it. We've sort of subdued the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. They didn't kill it. It's just subdued. It's like its voice is muffled. By the way, that's an important idea, right? It's like maybe we still have a little bit of that, but it's in a muffled way. Okay, but anyway, now they said, "Ho ve'es ratzonu." Now that God is acceding to our requests. So mibai rachmei yitzra davera. Let's pray for the. Let's have a similar. Ask God to give us over the desire for avera. Now, avera is sin, but often avera, without being specific, means sexual. Okay, so the sexual desire, let's have control over that.
They didn't want for the Yetzer Hara in general?
No, you'll see. It very much means sexual. Bo rachme, it's often when the Gemara says avera, it means sexual sin. Okay, bo rachme, they prayed to God. Im shebiyadayu. God said, fine, go ahead. Now you have control over the sexual desire. Yomi. They locked it up for 3 days. And then they wanted to find some fresh egg for a sick person. No eggs to be found. The hens weren't laying eggs. Right? All things that were related to sex had sort of been turned off. So Amru Hechi Navi. Now, okay, what should we do? Let's say, God, just give us, remove the desire for sexual sin. Let's have sort of still healthy sexuality, but for sexual sin, just remove that desire. So Pagamir Kilo Yaivi. No, won't give it halfway. You got it. If you want that power, you got to deal with all aspects of that power. Okay, so Kachlinu. So what do they do? So Kachlinu le'ene. They sort of they poked out its eyes. So Kachlinu literally means they put some makeup in its eyes. They put something in its eyes. Okay, they blinded, or they blurred its vision. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I don't know how that works, but somehow it means, I don't know, how do they translate it? They blinded its eyes? Yeah, from the context, it sounds like that. Anyway, or they blurred its eyes. Okay. Kachlinu le'ene. Ahani bay. So that meant, God wasn't going to give them half, but they managed to do a little thing. They couldn't keep it locked up. They had to let it free, but they injured it a little on letting it out while they were letting it out. So anyway, what was the effect of this? It helped to deal with the lust, the desire for incest. Okay, so there's still a desire to sin sexually with somebody who is not your spouse, or Rashi says, or when the woman is a nida, so that Yetzer Hara still exists, but the incest Yetzer Hara has been tamed a little bit. Not totally, but it's been tamed. Okay. Anyway, Amar Rav Yud Amar Rav. So that was the end of that. That's a very, very famous, Agadita about the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. All right, and we're not done with it. We'll just get it also in a later parak as well. According to this, it was something that we only internalized after we had run after it for sexual freedom. Notice in both stories the intertwining of sexual drive and the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. Right, exists in both stories. They worshipped the Avodah Zarah to give them sexual freedom. Right, they got power over the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. They wanted power over the drive for sexual freedom and so on. Okay, but anyway, according to this, the second story where they had to free it from the Kodesh Kodashim or whatever sounds like there was a real deep human thing that was motivating them towards Avodah Zarah. The first part of it, however, was that it was really just for the sexual freedom, and then they had internalized that Yetzer Hara. Okay, so now we continue. Okay, so it says like this, back to general discussions of Avodah Zarah. Amar Rav Yehuda Rav, said Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav, there's a story about a certain non-Jewish woman that was very ill. She was about to die. If this woman gets up from her illness, I will go and I will worship every single God in the world to say thank you, because who knows which God saved me, I guess. This is sort of like Pascal's wager, right? People love Pascal's wager. No, he basically said like, oh, well, you don't know if you should believe or not. Well, better to believe, because that way, you're covering your bases. So, if you're wrong, you didn't lose, and if you're right, you got saved. Okay, so anyway, so she basically said, whichever God is going to save me, I'll go thank all of them afterwards. I'll worship every single God. Okay. What was it? She came to the Baal Peor. She asked the priest. I'm sorry, did I skip? So she went. She got better. Okay. She went to every Avodah Zarah. When she came to the Peor, she asked the priest. But how do you worship this? They said to her, Tardin shows Ochlin Tardin, you eat beets, and you drink beer, mead. That makes you very gets the stuff to pass out of your system. And you defecate. Actually, treason is even a harsher word. It sort of means like splatter. Anyway, in front of it. Okay, and that's how you worship it. Amra, so she said, better I should go back to being sick, and I should go back to die from my sickness. But I should not worship a God in this disgusting fashion. Okay, so that's what even she drew her line at the worship of Peor. That was this non-Jewish woman. But Israel came, you, the Jewish people, when you decided to worship Avodah Zarah, you were not like that. It says that you cleaved to Baal Peor. What does that mean, you cleaved? Tzamid patil. A tzamid patil is like a seal on a jar that's like vacuum packed. Totally sealed, totally glued on. Okay, so when you ran after the Baal Peor, nobody could separate you from it. So so just to show how we are, how extreme we were when we followed our Avodah Zarah. Okay, and that's in contrast to how you felt about God, even when you were feeling about God, positively. You who stick to Hashem your God, so that's just sticking. That's not cleaving. Like two dates that are stuck to one another. It's very easy to pull them apart. Okay, it's not like a waxed on seal. Okay, so your Avodah Zarah you were much more passionate about than you were about God. Pretty big condemnation. Okay, but in a Braito we read it in a softer way. Hanitzmadim lebal Peor. Nitzmadim, we don't mean to cleave within this tight seal, but we read it Kitsamira yidei isha, like a bracelet on a woman. So a bracelet isn't so tight, right? It's like dangling. It's a lot of air. So even when we went after Baal Peor, we were not so, adhering, whatever. It's not so cleaving. But you stick to God. With God, you really stick with God. Okay, so that's the opposite. That our connection to God was stronger than our connection to Baal Peor. Here's another story of Avodah Zarah. Ma'isa b'Savta ben Alas. This person, Savta ben Alas, or some say Min Alas, from the city of Alas. Okay, this was a Jew, and he rented out his donkey to a non-Jewish woman. He was a donkey driver. Okay, so he was taking her on some trip. They came to a Peor temple. Amrlo, she said to him, you know what? Stop here. I want to go in and pay my worship, do my worship. Let me go in and come out. She came out. You know what? Can you stay by the donkey? I also want to go in and do my worship. All right. And he wasn't being a mocking. He was serious. This was a Jew who worshipped the Peor. Amrlo, she said to him, "V'lo Yehudiyata, aren't you a Jew?" So Amrlo, what do you care? Fine, I'm a Jew, but I like the worship of Peor. Nichnas. He went in, pa'ar b'fanav, he defecated in front of it, v'kinach b'chotamo, and he wiped himself with the nose of the idol. Okay? And the attendants were praising him. Nobody ever worshipped our God in this wonderful way. You really understand that the way to worship our God is to completely disgrace it or something. Okay. Now, so anyway, just again, that was ending the whole thing by, I think, another mockery of the gods, which was keeping in that theme. So very interesting themes here, the intertwining of Yetzer Hara Avodah Zarah and Yetzer Hara of sexuality, and how we, have at times internalized it and so ran after it, and then ends with a little bit of a mocking. Okay, now going back to halachic discussions. Hapor atzmo l'Baal Peor harezo avodaso. So this is ultimately, if somebody defecates in front of Baal Peor, that's the way it's worshipped, and that's Avodah Zarah. Even though you're trying to do something like with this previous story, to base it, well, I know if he was trying to do it, but even if somebody's trying to do it as a way of sort of degrading it, showing it's, doing a shaming act or something, or a degrading act, it's still an act of Avodah Zarah. I'll get back to that in a minute. But let's finish till the mission, and then I'll say something about that. Doesn't matter what your intent was. If you throw a stone to Markolis, that's an act of worship. Even if in your mind you think what you're doing is you're throwing stones not to it, but at it. You're actually trying to stone it. It doesn't matter. You did the avoda and you've done the act. Rav Menashe have a ka'azal Tursa. So Rav Menashe was going to this place, Beit Tursa. Amrullah, people said to him, Avodah Zarah, that place there, that thing there in that place, that's an idol. The Kaihacha, that's standing there in that place that you're going. So, he said, that's an idol? Shaka Pasa Shadabe. He took a clump of earth and he threw it at the idol. He would, as a way of showing showing disrespect. Amrullah, then they said to him, wait, Markolis he. Oh, did we forget to tell you? It's actually Markolis. So Amrullah, he said to them, so you just now did an act of Avodah Zarah. You got to do tshuva. So he said no. Amrullah. So I'm sorry. Amrullah. He said to them, where was he? Amrullah. He said to them, Hazar even limarkolis. It says if you throw a stone to Markolis, it's an act of Avodah Zarah. I didn't throw it to it. I threw it at it. Okay. Asla shal baby draws. They went and they asked in the base medrash. Amrullah. They said to him, Hazar even bimarkolis tanan, which is not our mission, but anyway, they said no. It's even if you throw it at it, that's an act of Avodah Zarah. So alpha gav the mechavi lemir gamay, even if you're trying to stone it, it's still an act of Avodah Zarah. Amrullah ezel ishkale. So he said, okay, so fine, I did the avera, I'll do tshuva. Should I try now to go ahead and remove the stone so it shouldn't remain there as a that my stone is there as an offering to the Avodah Zarah? I mean, I'm not gonna, that won't change the sin that I did, but let me at least go ahead and remove it. Amrullah, they said to him, an act of worship is both the placing of a stone and the removing of a stone is also an act of worship. Why? When you remove a stone, you're allowing the next person to put a stone in that place. So part of the act of worship is after you throw it, actually removing it is also an act of worship. So, it's like the guy who, you walk in the room and you're not thinking, you turn on the light and Shabbos, I forgot it's Shabbos, and then you turn it off. So actually that makes it worse, okay? You just don't do it twice. All right, anyway, so this is a very important question, this last thing, because we discussed earlier, if you remember, Abai and Rava, if somebody does an act of worship from Ava and Yira. And, certainly according to Rava, it seems like it's only an act of worship if you are doing it because you believe in this God. So, so according to Abai, according to Rava, why if you are throwing a stone at an idol, right, is it, in a way of disrespect, or defecating in a way of disrespect, why is it an act of Avodah Zarah? That's not an act of worship, okay? So that is a big question the Rishonim have to deal with. So Tosfos says, so some say that this only means you would never be put to death for this. You'd only be put to death if it was done as an intentional act of worship. Okay, but this is that you are you would bring a korban, like it would be in sin b'shogeg. So in that case, even though the intent was missing, since it was the act of Avodah Zarah, even though your intent was different, you would still bring a korban. Korban is often when you do the act with a different intent, although you could say here the intent totally changes the act. Anyway, that's one answer. Another answer, which Tosfos says no. Again, it doesn't explain this case here where the rabbi did it by accident, but Tosfos basically says, even when the Gemara says that if you do it, you're chayav, when you do it as a way of disrespect, that's a way of disrespect, but you still believe in the God. Meaning it's not like you don't believe in the God, right? There's a disrespect, like this is all nonsense, and I'm going to show how much it's nonsense. I'm going to go defecate on it. right? Or you could say, no, I believe in this God, but I'm angry, let's say, with the God, or I'm going to do this act of worship, but I'm going to do it in a disrespectful way, right? Like, like somebody says, fine, you want to see me take lulav? Here, I'll take lulav, So you can take it in a disrespectful way, and it still be understood in the context of believing in the God and worshiping the God. That's the way Tosfos understands. And then a number of commentators on the Rambam understand a third way, which is the following, which is, this is very important. I don't know, the Rambam doesn't say this, but some introduce the distinction I'm about to say to deal with this problem, that it matters whether this is a God that already is worshipped in this way, or whether you're doing something new. Meaning the Gemara before, or making a new God, the Gemara before, this is a significant limiting of the idea of Ava and Yira, this approach. It says, the Gemara before that said that somebody who worships a God, me Ava me Yira, has not transgressed. That's when nobody's worshiping this thing. You all of a sudden decided, this thing is going to be my God, and then you go ahead and worship it, me Ava or me Yira, or whatever. That's when you're not chayav, until you really accept it as your God. That's talking when you're making something out of nothing. Then you really have to accept your God. But a God that already has an established following and people worship it and it has rituals, in that type of a case, if you go through the act, even if you don't believe in it, and even if you're doing the act with a different intent, it's still an act of avodah zarah. Okay, so that's a significant limiting of that previous discussion. That says all that discussion that you needed belief for it to be avodah zarah was when nobody else looked at it as an avodah zarah. But something that is accepted by followers as a God, your belief doesn't matter. And if you do the act, that's an act of avodah zarah, even if you're doing it like this way, in a degrading and disrespectful way. Okay, so it's all these big questions are still left a little bit hanging in the air. All right, now we move on to the next Mishnah.
Why would there even be a concept of doing some kind of act of worship out of the Yira if it's not anybody else's God?
Yeah, so that's why this answer works better for Rambam, because you'll remember that Rambam said Avan Yira was not Avan Yira of a person. He said that Avan Yira was that you are you love the way this image looks, or you all of a sudden have decided that you're afraid of what might happen to you. So it's more your own sort of quasi-religious motivation, and it's not somebody else. Or the case of Haman was a case of Avan Yira of a person, but it was somebody creating a new God. Haman said, I'm God and worship me. So that would be the cases of Avan Yira, when you're either you or somebody else is creating a new God and you're being pressured to worship it. But an established religion that's got a following, then as long as you do the same act, you understand the idea. Once there's an established religion and these acts are interpreted in a certain way, right? Who cares what's going on in your head, So that you understand the logic behind that. But yeah, you'd have to explain the circumstances in a particular way. Okay. Hanosei mizaro l'molech. Now, how this is identified out as separate from avodah zarah, and we'll see why. Somebody who gives over his seed, his children, to the molech. Einu chayv ad sheyimsor l'molech. You have to give it over. It says ki mizaro natan l'molech. Anyway, you have to give it over to the priests, and then it says lahavir l'molech. So you have to give the child has to be given over, and then it has to be passed through the fire. Both needs to be done. Einu chayv ad sheyimsor l'molech v'ya'avir be'esh. And it's passed through the fire. We'll see whether the father was involved. I guess it could be the mother too. Anyway, involved in passing the child through the fire. Maser l'molech v'lo heavier be'esh. It was handed over, but the child wasn't passed through. Heavier be'esh v'lo maser l'molech, or passed through and not handed over. Eno chayv ad sheyimsor l'molech v'yaver be'esh. Nope, sorry, you don't get the death penalty until you do both. Okay. Ketani avodah zarah, ketani molech. Now, first we discussed avodah zarah was one of those that gets skila, and then we said molech is one of those that gets skila. Sounds like it's not just a form of avodah zarah. Sounds like it's something distinct. Amar Rabbi Avin, Tani Kamanda Amar Molech Lav Avodah Zarah. Okay, it's not avodah zarah. It is some pagan ritual, but not the worship of a god. Okay, you can understand that, right? I mean, you can have rituals that are not, especially if they think that maybe it's acting with some metaphysical forces, and on some metaphysical forces. I mean, whenever we hear children and fire, whatever, we obviously think that it's a type of child sacrifice to a god. But there's one opinion that says, no, it is a pagan ritual, but not a worship of a god. All right, and it's chayiv skila. Now, you would say, why would you get skila if it's not avodah zarah? But one of the places where the Torah talks about molech, it says, lo yimatzei b'cha. Mavir bino v'to ba'esh, let it not be found you anybody who passes their children into a fire. Kosein ksamim, monenim menacheshim chashev. And then it says witchcraft and necromancy and all these other things. So actually the Molech prohibition appears in a context, not just of Avodah Zarah, but a context of all these other types of black magic type things. So that's the question. Is it Avodah Zarah or is it more like witchcraft? Okay, so in this answer, it's more like witchcraft. Okay? Titania, now this is a debate. We're talking about Brisa. Echad the Molech v'echad l'shar Avodah Zarah chayav. Whether you do this worship to this fire thing, to the Molech, or to any Avodah Zarah, you're chayav. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, l'molech chayav shelo l'molech pater. For Molech, you're chayav. For other things, you're not. Now, what does that have to do with whether it's an act of Avodah Zarah or not? Whether it's limited to the Molech? So the assumption here is, it's not immediately obvious, but here's the assumption. If it is an act of Avodah Zarah, so why would the Torah have to tell me not to do it? The Torah already tells me not to do Avodah Zarah. So this is just like every other act of Avodah Zarah. Now, of course, obviously, it's very present in the Torah because clearly it was a very dominant act of, that was it was a big Yetzer Hara to that. Like it seemed very much that was something that people were straying after, maybe because it was particularly horrific. But from a legal perspective, we're saying if the Torah already said don't worship Avodah Zarah, why would it have to say don't worship Molech if it's also an Avodah Zarah? And the answer is it must be your chayav. The Torah is telling me you're chayav for the worship of Molech, even when it's not the normal way it's worshipped. Okay, or else it wouldn't have to single it out. So if it's going to tell me you're chayav, even if it's not the normal way you're worshipped, it wouldn't just be limited to Molech. It would, any time I did this act to any god, even if it's not the way that God is normally worshipped, I'd be chayav. So if you think Molech is Avodah Zarah, based on the rabbinic sort of logic of the economy of Psukim, it leads to the conclusion that you're chayav if you do it to any god. But if you think that Molech is not an Avodah Zarah, then it's just this one particular ritual, a ritual done to the Molech. It's not an Avodah Zarah. The Torah is telling it to you because even though it's not an Avodah Zarah, it's a pagan ritual and you're chayav for it. Okay, so you got it. The one that says it applies to other gods says it's an Avodah Zarah. The one that says it applies only to Molech, whatever Molech means, if it's not a god, but anyway, says that that's a ritual, but not an Avodah Zarah. So let's read that again. Titania, Echad l'molech v'echad l'shar Avodah Zarah chayav. That assumes it is an Avodah Zarah and it applies to any god. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, l'molech chayav shelo l'molech pater. Now only to Molech, which is being read here to mean it's not an Avodah Zarah, it's only a ritual and only done in this way. Amar Abaye. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos, Amud Avarecha. They said the same position. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon Hadam, and Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, we just said that only to the Molech, and it's a ritual. It's not a Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos Titani. Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos Omer. Neima tafsa Torah lashon Molech. What is the meaning of the word Molech? Obviously, it suggests the word like Melech, king. So. Even if they just took a little rock and a little twig, and they said, this is the Molech, and we're now going to do the ritual, that would be the ritual. So we're assuming that I can't mean that that's an Avodah Zarah. Maybe that's a thing to give you your components of the ritual, but they say, you see, this is consistent with the idea that it's not really an Avodah Zarah. So the Gemara says, Rava Amar Molech Harai Ika B'nai. No, they're not saying the exact same thing. According to the second opinion, even if you just ad hoc designated something as Molech, then that's the act. Whereas according to the other position, it might not be an Avodah Zarah, but it has to be something that has a permanent designation of Molech. You wouldn't agree to this ad hoc idea. Okay. Just
clarification on the text. So Kol Shem B'Choleim. And then question on this?
No, not a question. That's it's declarative. It's not a question. Even it's or even a kisam. Okay, so anyway, so if it's a ritual, it's something is called Molech, even an ad hoc thing or a regular thing, but it's not an Avodah Zarah, and that's one approach, as opposed to being an act done to any Avodah Zarah. I'm Rabbi Yana. I said Rabbi Yana. Now we're going back and essentially saying what was in the Mishnah. You have to give it over to the attendants. He's assuming it is an Avodah Zarah. You have to give it over to the attendants. The son, excuse me. You have to give your child over to the attendants. Don't give it over. Lo titain. Okay, we're basically just explicating our Mishnah. Similarly, maybe just giving over maybe passing through the fire without giving the kid over your chayav. Talmud Lomar lo titain, don't give. So part of the transgression is the giving over to the priests. Maser l'molech v'lo hevier. Maybe if you gave your child to the priests, but they didn't pass him through the fire, maybe yechayev. Yochi yechayev. Talmud Lomar lehavir. to pass though. Now you could read it means you gave it to the priest for the purpose of passing the kid through, but they didn't actually pass the kid through. But that's not how we're reading it. We're reading lahavir means giving the kid to the priests, and they actually then went ahead and passed the kid through. So you need both components. Most of the heavier shalol yechayev. Back to this question: does it apply to other things that aren't molech? Maybe you're chayav without doing it for the molech. Talmud Lomer lemolech. No, only when it's litain, lahavir, lamolech. Each word is being read. Given over to the priest, passed through the fire to the molech. Must have heavier lamolech below the age. Maybe if you did the whole thing, but you didn't do the fire ritual. By the way, it's not clear, and we're going to see was the kid burned before we read a passage that said they burned their kids. Here it's going to seem very much that the Gemara understands that there was some ritual that was passed between fires or over a fire, but actually the kid was not killed, maybe not even injured. Okay, but it was still this ritual. So now, maybe if it did it without a fire, maybe you transgress. So one verse says Lo titein lahavir lamolech doesn't mention fire, but another verse says, or the first I quoted to you before, don't pass your kid through a fire. So presumably we're talking about the same ritual. It talks about passing your children. So malahalan be'esh, the same way there it's a fire. Avkan be'esh. Here too, when it speaks about the molech, it means a fire. Umakan molech. Now the same way the verse says molech. Aflahalan there when it speaks about the fire, it doesn't say molech, but it means molech. So we basically put the psukim together, which makes a lot of sense. This fire ritual to the molech. Amar Avacha Brei Rava. Have your kol zaro potter. If a person, had all of his kids go through the ritual, he's exempt. Shene'emar mizaracha v'lo kol zaracha. From your kids, not all your kids. That Tosa says, I don't understand. You did one kid, you're chayiv. You do the next kid, now you get off for the first kid. So Tosa says, no. Either it means somebody only has one child, so the one kid is all your kids, or you did all your kids at the same time. It says if you did one kid and were chayiv, you wouldn't then go ahead and tomorrow do the next kid and retroactively be exempt from what you did the day before. Okay, so it doesn't mean you did all of your kids at one time. Okay. Now Rabbi Ashi asked, Haviro suma mahu, yoshen mahu. So let's say the kid was blind or asleep, like he wasn't aware fully of what was happening. Blind, you were aware, but you weren't seeing. Anyway, would that be considered having the kid go through the fire? So ben bino, ven bito mahu. Let's say it was a grandkid. Okay, tivshot miyachada. So one of those we can answer. Titania, ki mizaro natan lamolech. He gave from his seed to the molech. Maltam lama. Why does it say zaro? Levi shenemer lo yimatzei b'cha ma'avir beno vito ba'esh, son or daughter. Ainli el beno vito. I only know son or daughter. Ben beno ven bito minayin. How do I know grandkid? Talmud lama bitito mizaro lamolech. So that at least answers. We don't know the blind or the asleep question. By the way, they probably would, certainly if it was child sacrifice, probably, they used to like drug the kids or whatever, so they wouldn't, be able to go along with it. But anyway, so we don't know the answer to that question, but it doesn't have to be kid. It's direct child. It could be grandkid as well. Okay, now the Gemara just has a question. Tana patach b'chimi zaro. It started quoting the verse kimi zaro natan lamolech, which is seed and not son or daughter, any descendant. But then it quotes another pasuk about seed. It says when he gave from his seed. So which of the psukim are we darshaning? Mizaro natan or betito mizaro? I mean, they're essentially saying the same thing, but which one are we focusing on? So the Gemara says, drasha. So no, the Gemara says, you know what? Drasha chrinihu. You're right. That extra phrase, tito mizaro, is telling you a different drasha. Mizaro natan lamolech says it doesn't have to be son or daughter. It could be grandkid because it says zera. And betito mizaro lamolech is telling you yet another point. Zaro, his seed. Ainli ela zera kosher. I only know a kosher child, meaning like not a mamzer. Okay, zera pasul minayin. How do I know? Even for example, if it was like a mamzer or something of that nature. Okay, when he gave over from his seed, so the extra mizaro maybe means some even a partial aspect, even a not the whatever. Anyway, somehow includes even a mamzer. Let's just read one more line about this to discuss the actual ritual. So, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, you have to do it a normal way in which they would pass the kids through the fire. What would that be? Heichi dami, what does that mean? Amar Abaye, Sharga delivni b'mitzia. You'd have a row of bricks going down the middle. He'd walk on a row of bricks. Nura mehaigisa, v'nura mehaigisa. Fire on this side, fire on that side. So he wouldn't be thrown in the fire. He would walk between the fires on this row of bricks. Okay, Rava Amar, Kimishavarta de Puraya, like when they jump on Purim. Okay, basically you would jump over a fire pit. Tanya Kavasi Rava, we talk like Rava. Eino Chayev Achi Avirenu Derech Havara. It has to be the normal way that they would pass through the fire. Havir Beregel Pater. If you just walk through, you're exempt. So it means it's not about walking. So presumably it's about jumping. The Eino Chayev Ella Al Yotze Yerecho. So anyway, so that seems to support Rava. It's like jumping over a fire pit, not walking between fires. And now, since we mentioned it doesn't have to be son or daughter, it could be a descendant fine, but it can't be a relative in some other direction, going up or to the side. It has to only going down. Ha Ketzad, Bino Vito Chayev, son or daughter, you're Chayev, and even a grandkid, as we mentioned before. Avi V'imo, father or mother, Achi Vachosa, brother or sister, Pater, you're exempt. Have your atzmo Pater. Let's say you put yourself through the fire, you're also exempt. Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon Mechayev. Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon says you're chayev if you did yourself. And then the other point we said, whether it's molech or to another idol, Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon Omer l'molech chayev shelo l'molech pater, only to the molech. That's what we quoted at the beginning. So let's just read one more sentence about this question about whether you give yourself over, are you chayev? So Amar Ula, my time at Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon. Why does Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon say even if you pass yourself to the molech, you're chayev? Amar Krav, the verse says, Lo yimatzei b'cha ma'avir bino b'to b'eish. Don't let it be found in you. You can't do it even to yourself. He's reading the b'cha to say, don't even do it to yourself. B'cha be'atzmecha. Don't even do it to yourself. So the Gemara says, Rabbanan lo darshi b'cha. Wait a minute. So why do the rabbis argue? The rabbis normally agree that that's how we read the word b'cha. The Mishnah says, Avedosov Avedos Aviv Shelo Kodemis. If you have to decide between returning your lost object to yourself or a lost object to your father, you come first. There's a general principle, right? You have to take care of your own interests before somebody else's. So where do we know that from? V'amrina, in my time, what's the reason? There shall not be a poor person among you. Where we read it is, Lo b'chayev yon. You can't let yourself become poor. Okay? Shelo kodemis shel kol adam. So you see, we read b'cha means don't do it to yourself. So if we say that by the lost object, why do we disagree when it comes to the molech? So the Gemara says, the hasam me efes. No. The point isn't just the word b'cha. It's the word efes. Rashi says the word efes means afes, to get rid of. Afes, get rid of poverty. And the way you can get rid of poverty is you have to start with making sure that you're not poor. So it's not just the word of b'cha. It's the word of b'cha together with the word efes says you got to take care of your own interests first. Okay, but the b'cha itself, Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon says it means don't do this ritual to yourself, but the rabbis say, no. It's only when you do it to your kid, not when you do it to yourself. Okay, we will wrap up. I know we only have a few lines left, but we're already a little over, so we will wrap this up tomorrow. All right, I have to run.